What is going on, everybody? If you can hear me, please hit the one in the chat or yo, or actually yo Joe. Get it? Yo Joe. Yeah, I'm not a big joker. All right, and my jokes are kind of corny. Anyway, let's get to the show. The title's right. We're talking about GI Joe, but before we do that, do me a solid favor. Everybody needs to do this favor. Share the stream, like the stream, and prescribe if you haven't. If you haven't, what the hell is wrong with you? You need to sub to the channel. It's free. Anyway, so we are talking about G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is a very good series, ironic series. It hits close to my heart. Why? I'll tell you why. As a little kid, and I mentioned this before, I got fascinated with military stuff. What made me fascinated about it is G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe was the American greatest hero, the everything you can think of. I really, really liked it to the point like it was like it became one of my favorite shows. And that's not being understanding. It literally became one of my favorite shows as growing up as a kid. Next to probably I'll say Transformers. That's the second one I would say that I liked as equally. Let me find one thing for you guys. One quick second. All right, here we are. Boom. All right. So I was saying there was something that I loved, I enjoyed, and it was something that was like different. You know what I'm saying? At the time, I didn't know it was different. It was something I just grew up with. But remember, GI Joe's been around for a long time, too long actually. That some people say, and uh, and it was ironic in a way. So, hang on one second, guys. I think it's not working. That's weird. All right, let me try this again. You know, it's funny. Only Paul always has an issue with the link. Nobody else does. I don't know why. All right, Mr. President, we're waiting for you, buddy. I'm gonna hold off for a second till that comes in. Let me do one of these. Move for, and we'll get right into when he joins us. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, guys. At the time, GI Joe's been around since the late '80s. I want to say. I'm gonna look at it right now, actually, because I don't remember. GI Joe. Oh, come on, don't freeze on me now. There we go. Uh, first. Okay, so GI Joe's been out since 1964. The first GI Joe was a 12-inch action figure with a 19 point action named Mango. Action. No, that's not the name of it. What is the name of it? Army Soldier, U.S. Marine. Oh, there were several of them. I'm sorry. So the first couple of them were going to this picture and the article I just pulled up. You had a Marine, a Army guy, Navy guy, two Army guys, and a Navy guy. All right, let's get Mr. President here. All rise for Mr. President.
It's good, sir.
What's going on, Mr. President? How are you tonight?
Pretty tired. Spent the day in
Yeah.
New York with the ladies.
Oh boy, I feel bad for your credit card then.
Yeah, no, not so much the credit card. Just a lot of estrogen. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes I think God's on your side because 4 women in one household, that's a lot of women. But let's get the next guy in here. He's known as a big guy. He's known as one of the smartest tech people I know. We're gonna change his nickname. He's not gonna be called Earthquake anymore. We're gonna call him Tech from now on. All right, Tech, you're in.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, people? How's everybody doing?
Doing okay,
Hello,
sir?
good evening to Mr. President of the Seven Bs. How you doing? It's another
All
Good,
right.
good
sir.
week go now.
Before we go, guys, I'm going to drop a little rules in the chat from moving forward for after what happened the Gwinzo of the other night. So we're gonna have rules from now on in the chats because I'm not gonna have anybody coming in and belittle my people. If you don't like it, you can kiss my hairy Greek ass. And boom, here's the rules now.
Pause.
Hey, if you want to be first in line, be my guest. I don't care.
Pause.
All right.
Yeah, but David, you realize this is all Peter's fault though,
How the
I know.
fuck is this my fault?
I
because
know.
one, you're Greek,
Oh Christ.
and second, that was you should have been mine girlfriend, ex girlfriend, not your girlfriend energy that was given off that night. So it's just something about you guys leave the women starving. So they tried all types of attempts to bring you down, man. That's ex energy. And again, I'm not saying you dated her. I'm just saying she probably wishes you dated her and you didn't. You said you knew her from high school, so that was probably the one that was trying to get you to look at, and you never did. And she found your channel, and she tried to drop the she tried to
Actually, the
infiltrate.
funny part, Paul, is because she reconnected me on Facebook after so many years, 2 days ago, and I sent her the link. Like, hey, check out my show. I went to her, and because she
Oh,
didn't respect what Davis said, I don't care if you don't like what you said, but we respect each other. I don't agree with David's theories, and I don't agree with yours sometimes, and vice versa it goes. But we all respect each other. We're here to have a good time at the end of the day,
Mhm.
not
I know.
to
You don't have to
start
worry about
drama.
me. I'd rather see who have the gall to lose their self-esteem dealing with me. I'm known for that. There's a reason why my parents tell a lot of people they're clear for me because I got that kind of mouth that if I'm going to roast you, I'm trying to see how much it would take me to make you cry or lose your self-esteem or lose your personality or lose whatever foundation that you built for many years. So I'm beyond a vicious individual. I just want to see if I can break you completely without even touching you. That's the first stage. So anyone want to touch me? I'm from Brooklyn. We built tough. I gotta be on a tough skin or thick skin, you wanna call it that way, because I come from both sides of the world. Here, Brooklyn, New York, and from the motherland. I don't got time for the BS. So you want to attack
You
me?
sound like a goddamn Ford commercial. Built tough.
Yeah.
Do they
This
even still have those commercials out, or they're
No,
I
changed
know.
it now?
the Built Tough, not that was definitely 80s,
Yeah.
90s kind of thing, but I haven't heard that in a
GNC
while.
truck built tough,
Hmm.
built to last. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was Ford actually.
Yeah, Ford did that. No, it was Ford that did it first.
Mm.
Yeah.
And GNC were trying to adapt it, but they lost the right to it. Yeah.
Mm. I must say, David, you do look more handsome with the shorter hair. I'm just saying.
I'm trying to keep it
Yeah,
this way.
you're halfway there, sir. But
Don't worry. If I go bald headed, then I gotta be worrying about all these ladies touching my hair, which I don't want.
that's what you want, yeah.
No, I did bald one time, and they was on my last nerve. I was like, "Do not touch my head."
They can't help. It's irresistible, man. The fair.
I could
So
care
you
less.
let go of those hair follicles, all those pheromones that are in your scalp are released. So again, they can't help it. They want to put their hands, they want to rub their feet through there, they want to put their boobies on it. I mean, it's just that's
Oh,
just
okay, but let's be crystal clear. You can't trust all ladies. Number one. Number two, you know where their head has been. Number three, women are too territorial, so they're not gonna let another woman touch where they put their hand on
see that's
already.
the problem, man. We're too weak now, man. Whatever happened to this hand stuff? 70s, 80s, we're Gen X, man. 70s, 80s, man. We didn't care all that hygiene stuff, man. We drunk
Oh,
water from the hose, right?
I'm sorry.
We drunk water from the hose, right? Straight from the hose. We drank water, man. Now
Yeah,
everyone's like, "Where your hands have been?"
hold on,
We had better immune systems back then.
hold on. Where I'm from, if a woman wants your ass, you a target. You ain't running from her. She will get you. She even drug you just to get you. Real talk.
Oh, that's fine.
Think,
I'm talking about the hygiene thing, like this where your hands have
yeah,
been. I mean,
that
no
that
one cared
thing.
back in the day where your hands were. It was just again, your immune. We had tougher immune systems back then. Now all these kids, all these folks now, they catch every cold, everything now because, again, we don't have
Um,
that built-in immunity, man.
no, it's not just that. They weren't built tough. They were built weak like fiberglass.
And now's a week by not getting around those pathogens to build up those killer T cells and all that kind of stuff to build it up, man. We've been so isolated, man. You gotta,
I'm
All
just trying to
right.
be careful. I don't trust ladies like that. They'll be like, "This is my
What's going on,
territory." Oh
Mariano?
hell no.
Eric, my man, what's up, brother? All right. Before we get to this Homo sapien conversation, let's get back on track here. Who wants to go first with their opening, comments about
I'll go.
GI Joe?
I go first. I go
I knew
first.
that was going to happen.
GI Joe, GI Joe, GI Joe. If anyone who grew up in the '80s grew up watching GI Joe, and they loved it. Because besides, and on the other side of the coin was GI Joe. GI Joe is the type of cartoon that a lot of boys grew up and they idolize or they say they want to be as tough as those certain individual. That's who they are. That's number one. Number two, G.I. Joe has been a franchise that lasts for so long, for many years, with multiple toys. I know people who collected all type of G.I. Joe toys, and they end up becoming a high cost collectible, whereby mint condition is sold a lot of money. Here's our problem right now: the G.I. Joe movie franchise. The first two did not do too well. The last one kind of redeemed itself, but we believe we need to have a better person who will manage that franchise properly. I'll be honest with you. I had too many bad words to say for the person who did the first two. 'Cause I was thinking either the person was on drugs, or they're going through a divorce, or the girlfriend cheated on them, or they got cuckolded, or whatever you want to call it, because that was a poor adaptation of G.I. Joe. I don't care what you want to say about it. It was ridiculous. The second part, well, let me save it for the main show because I want to go in so bad, but still, the last G.I. Joe movie, I'm glad someone did it justice and did the right way, which it should be. That's the start. That's how it should be going. I had to do a couple of more to wipe out or replay the first two shit thing of a movie that came out. That's my beginning argument. All right.
All right. Well, I'll go back a few years earlier. Good shout out to Gen X. GI Joe, as far as the toy line, it's all started as a toy line, so very similar to the Transformers and other properties that have been out there. This was not a fleshed out storyline, but again, it was a toy line that came out in 1964. So we're like 60 years ago. GI Joe came out, and they were sort of revolutionary at the time because again, they were action figures, military. Certainly action figures. Obviously, we were sort of enthralled, and Vietnam was underway, but it really started escalating 64, 65, 66, and certainly those 12-inch action figures that came out. And but they were soldiers and different types of soldiers, special ops type of action figures over time, and so that's what a lot of people, for the first like 18 years until like 1982, 83, that's what they were known for. There was no there were no comics until Marvel came out in 1982 with GI Joe. There was no cartoons or anything like that. But they were figures that you can dress them up. You could they had different different functions. The Kung Fu grip actually came out in the 70s. And from what I understand, it wasn't very good. So it was basically like a flexible grip. So the action figures could hold things in their hands. But the whatever material that they used, it would wear down over time. So a lot of those Kung Fu grip action figures, they wouldn't they couldn't take a lot of taking something out, putting something back on, and repeating. But they also tried to spawn now Hasbro in the mid '70s. The $6 billion Man was again a very popular franchise on TV. They tried to get the rights, Hasbro, to $6 million Man to come out with a figure. They couldn't get the rights, but they came out with their own figure, Action Man. That was like a bionic figure that was pretty popular. In 1976, they came out with a figure that I remember. So it's like really when I started to get into it, they had this one called Bullet Man, and this figure, he had like a bullet shaped helmet, and he had this hook on his back, and you can put a line, like a string line from a high point to a low point, and you would put the action figure there, and he would slide down, and there would be targets that he would take out, with his head. So again, a lot of things, geared towards military back then. But certainly as the Vietnam War started to sour, it became less about military or fighting, communists or what have you, and it became more about a terrorism type of thing. So again, you talk about Cobra, like back in the 60s and 70s, there was no such thing really as Cobra. Cobra didn't really exist. Excuse me. Cobra really didn't exist back then, but I think Cobra was kind of created in order to, have, obviously you need an enemy. I mean, if you're going to have this force, you need someone to fight. So again, they created this terrorist organization, Cobra, and that became the basis for, I think, everything since. So again, they started as, again, these were military action figures, people with different personalities, different features. A lot of action figures had beards, which was, again, certainly you look at the military, they always had sort of a clean shaven policy. So these were like some of the first action figures that were out there that had beards, and they were kind of known for that. Actually, if you look at groups like the Village People from like YMCA and, those songs, whatnot, a lot of that inspiration probably came from that kind of look, the soldiers, the sailor with the beard, the military guy with the beard and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but not that big, but, certainly the beards were high, they were kind of more well kept than that. But that being said, so they were revolution, and then they just kept expanding the line in, the different figures, soldiers for winter gear, soldiers for Navy or undersea, and just more specializations as it came on. But I think 1982, it's really that's what really broke ground, because again, Marvel, like I said, they came out with the first animated comic book series on G.I. Joe. And that's also when you got the theme song for G.I. Joe. Like prior to that, you didn't have really like a G.I. Joe theme. And, but when you heard that, we'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble, G.I. Joe is there. All that came up in 1982. And 1 year later, you had the G.I. Joe cartoons came out. The animated series came out. And they came out as three major it was like multi chapter releases. They didn't just release the series like one adventure to the other. So you had like the Rise of Cobra. You had the ones where I think you introduced characters like Serpentor, and you had just all different. But it was like everything built up to like multiple episodes, but it was all tight. It was all like one theme. Transformers did the same thing in some of their series as well, but it'd be like a 3, 4, 5 part series that you would watch all week. So there's certainly a continuity. And then they kind of, the next season they went into, different, having like a weekly theme unrelated to the prior, to the previous episode. But those early series, though, they definitely had you as like, cliffhangers. Essentially, they kind of locked you in with those. And so I followed up through probably season 2, but ironically, just like Transformers, when we talked about it earlier, after season 2, it kind of went downhill because they started introducing more pop culture characters. So, for example, and I know we're all wrestling fans here, but in 1985, they introduced Sergeant Slaughter from wrestling. as an action figure. And he was supposed to, as a sort of celebrity guy, and then they even went even further in 1986. So you had, in my view, the most overrated. Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter. Go back one. Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, they introduced that guy, who, from what I understand, now again, this has been ballied around. I heard Jim Cornette talk about this, that Sergeant Slaughter wasn't even in the military. So he probably had the biggest kayfabe of all time.
Actually, Paul, that is 100% correct. So, a
So
little
yeah,
backstory on this really fast. I'm going to go off the topic a second. So, CQ was going to actually meet him with Nemo. Nemo was another veteran that he works with. And Nemo goes up to him like, he goes, CQ, are you sure you want to get his autograph and for the show? And ask him to come on the show. You don't know about the big kayfabe, the big controversy. Like what? He was never a Marine. He was never in the military. And because and he goes, oh shit, that's right. And that's why a lot of people in the military, like Siki is an exception to that rule. So a lot of people in the service look down on him, like, but you pretend to be a service guy, but you never served. How the fuck do you know what's going on in there? And the point, they're right, and I do understand where they're coming from. But in the same token, he's playing a character. He's an actor at the end of the day.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I must say, even though he played a character, he played it so well. Like, we didn't know, obviously, growing up, that he wasn't in the military, but he played it off as if it was. And again, he probably had you got to also understand the time, 1983. He arguably had the biggest face turn and pop of all time when he went up against the Iron Sheik, which, again, if you go back in history, the early 80s, you had the Shah of Iran and the Ayatollahs, and all those people came up. It basically ruined Jimmy Carter's presidency. You had a lot of stuff going on with Iran, and the Iron Sheik was like the ultimate heel. This is the guy who beat Bob Backlund for the championship in 1983. And he was, waving that Iranian flag around and whatnot. So it was like a big deal. I mean, he was so hated. And when him and Sergeant Slaughter faced off, and again, Sergeant was a heel for most of his time, he became, you want to talk about a pop. He led the crowd in attendance in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I had never seen, again, you understand, crowds weren't that big in these local areas and whatnot. But he had those people so pumped, and he became so popular in that time that, if anything, I understand certainly a military guy saying, hey, you didn't serve. But certainly, if anything, he represented in a way that edified the America. He became Mr. America. He became that symbol. And I think so much so that that's why G.I. Joe and Hasbro and those guys, that's why they went after him. Because he was such a iconic figure, fictional or not. But I'm telling you, that face turn, 1980, this was probably, I think, 1984, because Iron Sheik won the title late 83. Hulk Hogan took it from him about a month later, so he wasn't champion anymore. So you're talking about, this is more like 84, 85 when this pop happened. Again, this is in the middle of the G.I. Joe run.
You forget one part when they turned him heel and they made him into Russian. Was it or
No. It was Iraq. That was 10 years later. That was in 92,
I don't know.
93.
I'm
That
not
was,
arguing that. I'm not arguing
yeah,
that. I mean, I
yeah.
know it was a big difference, but when they turned him heel, I think there was a bad move. Turning him into he kind of like traded his side. I didn't think that was
Well,
a
yeah.
good
Well, that's,
character.
Vince obviously taking advantage of the times and whatnot. Obviously, we were at war and whatnot, and they kind of had to have a face turn. But like I said, I'm just going back
I
to
want
tying it back to
no,
the
but
GI Joe, because he
well,
was out of the franchise by then.
well, the question I want to ask is you this because since you got the history down back, didn't Vince McMahon have some kind of deals signed to allow them to take that image of Solid Sutter over to Hasbro and the G.I. Joe franchise because that was a moneymaker for a while. It did make a lot of money on the franchise because he was iconic as a wrestler. And there's no way you can say that Vic Mayer didn't have his hand on that particular deal. Was it possible he did sign a deal for that?
Maybe, because you got to understand, at that time, WrestleMania just came off, right? I mean, there 84, 85. There was so much going on in entertainment, in wrestling. Wrestling really kind of, you know,
Skyrocket.
nationally, really hit the scene. And Sergeant Slaughter was arguably at the time, probably next to Hulk Hogan, the most popular wrestler in the world because of that face turn that he made. So it could have been all those things. And mind you, now again, I don't think the WWF at the time had the rights to Sergeant Slaughter. I think he was Sergeant Slaughter in multiple. He was in, when he was in NWA, when he was in Mid Atlantic, in Georgia, whatnot. So they didn't own his name, but
Yeah.
he was certainly, at that time, Vince certainly had a lot of say and influence over what wrestlers could do what if you want to remain in his promotion. So I don't doubt that Vince tried to get a cut of that. It'd be smart, especially since Vince was also starting to launch his own action figures and things of that nature. So
That's
what
why I asked
better?
that question because I watched G.I. Joe for a long while. And the Sergeant Slaughter character in G.I. Joe was almost like a mainstay, only on special episode when he's needed as a special force in case of need the
Yeah, they need when
heavy
they needed when they introduced Serpentor, who was supposed to
gun.
be this ultimate, genetically modified person. They were like, yeah, we need someone who can handle that. So that's when they brought the sergeant, and so him and
Bingo.
Serpentor, they went off back in the day. But just pulling it back to the series. So again, 84, 85, they brought Sarge in. Sergeant, well, it was really 85. Sergeant Slaughter, again, the most popular guy. But then they went even more ridiculous. Now, again, the most overrated football team in history. And yes, I'm saying that. Shout out to Hink in the basement. I love your show. I certainly respect you, my brother. The 1985 Chicago Bears are the most overrated football team in NFL history. Yes, they won the Super Bowl in 1985-86. Yes, they did. But they only won one. All right, so again, you're really not legit if you only went to one. They only went to one Super Bowl until 2008, 2009. But at that time, they were a very colorful football team. They got national exposure, one, because of their coach, Mike Ditka, Iron Mike Ditka. So they had him. Then they had that rap video that came out, the Super Bowl Shuffle. All right. And they had one charismatic player that also, not only was he a defensive end, but on third and short situations or third and goal, they brought him in to run it in to score touchdowns. And his name was William the Refrigerator Perry. And he was again, shout out to the marketing, because he was in everything. He was in McDonald's commercials, and he was just this big, giant, lovable guy that they made a field day with in terms of promotions. And what G.I. Joe did, and this is 1986, they brought William Perry into G.I. Joe. So you get to a point where, again, it was based on military and soldiers and those kind of people. And they decided to go, so mainstream that they were bringing in people who, one, didn't even serve in military or wasn't even, anything affiliated with Sergeant Slaughter. And William Perry didn't even pretend to be a military guy, but they turned him into an action figure and part of the G.I. Joe team. So they just went off. So again, G.I. Joe, just like Transformers, after season 2, they just went all over the place. And kind of like I stopped having interest. I know they've had animated, films and things of that nature, and certainly getting to the live action. Didn't love it because there were certain characters that were missing. Where was Lady J, and where was, I think Duke and Dutch, and
Flint, those guys.
there was a lot of guys who were missing.
And
And again, it missed a lot of, okay, now again, Snake Eyes has always been Snake Eyes, and then his brother, his half brother,
Shadow.
Storm Shadow. Those are my two favorites, clearly
But for some
out of the
reason, for
yeah.
some reason, when they did a re-adaptation of GI Joe, I think the one they did with Sigma 6,
Hmm.
and that one lasted for a while. Then after that, like they something they can go drag it out long, and I'm sure, like you said before, you, Mr. Paul Bennett, I think you will be our history buff because you're on point on everything. A lot of these cartoons were based on toy sale, and when the toy sale wasn't doing too well, was okay. Correction, put it back, go back up. I
Yeah,
overlooked.
one
Go back.
second. Alright,
There was GI Joe, the GI Joe Renegade, the GI Joe Sigma 6. I remember GI Joe Sigma 6, and I remember GI Joe Renegade. Jojo was more resolved was from like a movie. Jojo Extreme Team like to be a movie. I'm talking about the series. Renegade was the most recent one they did after Renegade. They were
I
trying to make
thought
it more
Sigma
modern.
Six was one of the newest ones.
No, Sigma 6 was before Renegade. Renegade had a more up to date look they were doing. Sigma 6 was trying to see if they can bring back the fan base from the old G.I. Joe fan base. And
And
Sigma
they did
6 didn't
actually.
last
That's
long.
one.
That's the thing, it didn't go that much. But G.I. Joe Renegade, it's almost a decade ago they did that. If I'm correct, Mr. Paul?
I probably, like I said, I honestly after 1986, my interest in it really fell off dramatically
And
until the
I
movies came out. I
mhm.
saw the first two, really wasn't that impressed, and so I'm kind of out of touch with. And then again, they tried to bring in the heavy hitters. They brought The Rock in. I think one time they brought
That was
Bruce Willis in.
All
He
right,
was supposed to
let's
be the
back up here a
special.
second, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation with the first movie first. Let's talk about it for a second. I was offended, very very much, and I don't get offended very easily. Oh, fuck off down there. Um, so a reason I got offended is first of all, we're not stupid. We're not idiots. I like some things about it. I like when they had the special base on the ground and
Right.
they're trained. I like
Yep.
that part of it. That
Yep.
that felt GI Joe. Training them with the we ask you, you don't ask us kind of motto with General Hawk. I like that part. The part that started sour for me was those X-Men suits that were in the and they're speeding like they're running like Sonic. And like now it became very cartoonish. The movie
Hmm.
Ritline was, I think, the actors they used perfect. Everything was perfect. I felt they had a perfect cast, a perfect story, except the one hiccup. Your turn is coming soon, David. Don't worry, you're gonna have your piece in a minute. Those suits that screwed up the whole goddamn movie for me. If that wasn't Suits and it had the different script, obviously, because you're taking a big part of the movie, you had to do something different. I think you could have like those microbots they were using as lethal weapons, the WMDs. I think that I like that. You fire the missile, all of a sudden the whole tower is coming down. That's a Cobra Commander kind of attack. But Cobra Commander didn't come into the end of the movie. Why?
Right. And I didn't like how they did Destro. I mean, I didn't like
Oh,
Destro. I didn't like Cobra Commander. I mean, the way he was portrayed in the cartoon series, he was a massive, well built, muscular, really, built guy. The guy who ultimately played
fight
him in
him.
the film. I mean, he was nothing. I mean, but he's supposed to
It
be
was a
this,
rich guy,
rich, not only rich but also again big pup. I mean, Destro had muscles on him. I mean, Destro was like,
Jack.
nobody, yeah, nobody would mess with him. I mean, you
No,
could have,
it wasn't like he was black.
they could have casted Dwayne Johnson as Destro, and I
See,
think that would have been well done.
the way Deathstroke had been portrayed on multiple adaptations, Deathstroke was a high level scientist with so much promise. He wasn't Jack, he was Rip. Whatever experiment he got himself on the last adaptation,
Hang
something
on, bring up
fun.
a picture of Destro from the Real American Hero series. Just bring him up.
Do that
Give me
because
1 second,
the
Paul.
last adaptation they trying to do an in depth of each character, and which what they're trying to say from Deathstroke, one of his science experiment went wrong and fell on his face, and it got solidified. And since then, he could never be who he was in the public, so he had to come to a different name with Deathstroke. But the thing about how they were trying to build the character in the movies, I'll say go back to the first one. Marlon Wayne should not be in Jimmy G.I. Joe #1. You don't crack that. You don't need one that will crack way too many jokes. That was the issue with
Nah,
me.
Destro was look at me. Destro was Jack, bro. Look at him
Do it.
picking up Cobra Commander with one hand. I mean, nah. That's
I
the
forgot
Rock.
the word.
That's Dwayne Johnson. Right now, look
It,
at him.
it,
I
it should
mean,
have,
plus he's a
should have,
bit,
should have
dark
been that
skinned.
show.
Dwayne Johnson should have been Destro.
But the thing that when they made him roadblock in the second movie and you will kill off Duke, I'm like, hold on, time out.
We're gonna get to the second movie. Hang on a second, Dave. Don't go too far yet.
I'm not going
Finish
too
your
far yet.
comment on the
The
first
first
one.
one,
I
the
want
first
to touch
one,
base on the second one.
the first one for some reason I felt like it wasn't a perfect cast. They had one person or too many, one or two other people who were not. But Marlon Wayne was the one that stood out like a thorn because Emma who watched G.I. Joe, we didn't have someone who would crack and joke a lot like that. We had one with crack and joke, but the kind of joke you were cracking was a lame ass based on battle tactics, but wasn't that type of what Monway was doing. It wasn't a black character, it was a sailor. They put you with a sailor who just he was obnoxious but always complained. And when they're trying to do a character projection on how what character supposed to be, they didn't pick the right people for the right type. They were trying to how you want to call it modernize or be woke about it, and that thing irritated me. So kind of like the first G.I. Joe movie, it would be on a bad thing. It would work than Transformer first movie. That's how I looked at it.
Mm.
That's my take.
There are a lot of good parts of the GI Joe movie. I'm not gonna deny it, but what's destroyed it was those goddamn suits. I'll be honest with you.
The
I
suit
like
part,
it. I'm sorry.
the suit, it's not the only thing that destroyed it. Here's the thing: the storyline felt like it was short, very very short. It like almost felt like it was rushed. Because you're bringing a movie called G.I. Joe, #1. It's about an hour and what, 30 hour or 40-minute movie?
Hour and 59,
Hour 59, okay.
so almost 2 hours.
2 hours. But still, the way it felt like it was jam, and they would have enough space to show each character different, more who they are as a person before you just combine them together. If anything, I don't want to jump. The last one did a better job of how to build a character. The first one was just you just throwing restaurant ingredient to a soup bowl, and the soup bowl don't even taste well; it tastes nasty. And you trying to shove it down our throat, like, come on. The suit, the power suit they got him wearing, it was like too much salt in the soup. That's how it looked like to me. It was a disaster. Reactions. That might be on
See,
that one.
I'm gonna argue. I think the suits destroyed the movie, David, because I think the guy who they picked for Duke, I think he was good. I think he fit perfectly for him.
No, Duke was perfect. Was perfect. It's just that certain other people who play certain characters, especially Marlon Wayans, made it look bad.
Mm.
No, let's
Okay.
be real because me and Mr. Paul, we can debate about which character, but Duke, they got the right person for Duke. Everyone else, one or two people fit the character. Others like, they should do a different role altogether. That's how it looked to me. I'm not gonna lie, because if you wanna get all the cast, pull up the screen all the cast of the first G.I. Joe movie, and we start calling out one by one. Hey, Wally, what's going on?
Yo, what's going on, fellas?
It's gonna brother. How
I'm
are you
doing great
tonight?
because
I'm good.
I'm gonna go in like a damn advocate. The first one wasn't done too well. Certain people fit the character, some don't. Well, there's no perfect cast.
And I agree. I don't think it's a perfect guys. What do you have to say about this, man? What's your take on the GI Joe franchise?
So yeah, so my ideas on the GI Joe franchise. So honestly, I truly believe the GI Joe franchise should never touch movies. I believe it's a perfect scenery. Like if people really think about it, it's a perfect scenery for TV series. And the reason why I say this is because when you really think about the GI Joe overall, one, this is very much multicultural. As you can tell, Scorpio and his brother, they're from Asia, and of course, as you know from Team Cobra, I think they're more of European based. So there's a lot of, as far as I can remember, just make sure. But there's a lot of pre components to that. So it's like in a lot of ways when you think about it, you can really take on that. Also, too, another thing you want to think about as well, right? When you think about GI Joe and then Team Cobra, from their sides, the two brothers like by themselves, that's that's an extra storyline right there that you can really like touch on, and especially like if you were to like, let's say you were to look at it from a visuals of Scorpion, right? A guy that one can't see because he's blind, but then two can't also speak neither. Like that is very like a very interesting like visual, especially from his side of the story, and especially like if you were to pretty much were to talk about him and his brother, and then going back to like where they come from, how they've been, how they got connected, everything of that nature, and all that mixed together, and their endless battle and feud, and then you piece it all together, and then of course when they're getting back with GI Joe and Cobra at the same time, being the extra incentive agents that they are to the team, this really much is perfect scenery for television, in my honest opinion, versus movies, because movies is like a nice trying to fit it all in one package, versus in TV shows you can really spread this out. And honestly, this is that one particular TV series you want to bring into a live action TV series that can actually stretch out decently, and you can actually build on this.
I never thought of that, but that's a really good point, because I think you only have so much time to tell a story in a movie,
Right?
to maybe 3 hours tops before people get to like this movie too fucking long again, fuck out of here.
Right.
Versus a series, you can break it down,
Mm-hmm.
episode 1, 2, 3 to 100 or whatever, and have it come back. Arrow is a great example. Arrow did a great. Arrow is one of the best DC shows out there.
Right.
And they did a great conversion from paper to actual screen. Now, if they did it to the movies, would it be any good? I don't think so. I think they did a great job with Arrow. I think if they did similar with G.I. Joe, I think they would be one of the best series on the air, to be honest with you. But who would do it? That's the question. Would it be on public TV, like NBC, Fox, or be a streaming show?
Yeah, I guess the thing for me would be, and I love the idea, Wally, about a weekly series. Because again, I grew up in the 70s. So for us, I know there's never been a military series on television from my understanding. I mean, I know you had like JAG and whatnot, but that wasn't like really dealing with combat or anything like that. But you've had like police shows on television that had like a weekly thing, and certainly one of my favorites growing up and one of the best theme songs of all time was SWAT. So I could certainly see a G.I. Joe taking after SWAT, and even the new one that's on now, I can kind of see that kind of element being applied, where every week there's like, again, there's a terror threat, there's some sort of terrorist group that they're trying to take down or whatnot. I think Hawaii Five-0 did some of that as well, where G.I. Joe is in special ops, but again, more a military function or special ops function versus a police function. I could certainly see that working, but I've never seen a military series. The closest thing, and again, I can't even put in the same category, you had the A-Team, which again, these are ex-military guys, but again, they did all these special, but they would help like, ladies with a bad landlord or something like that. So I don't know how that would sell. I guess the only thing that would hold it back is the fact that it's been so tied to, I guess, children or kids. Like, I don't know if you're talking about like a primetime series or anything like that. Would it be like, could they make it something that's like adult enough that would draw adult viewers in, or would the execs or whatever, would they still look at it as, oh, this is a kid's toy line or something like that? Could they make that transition and make it something that's serious? You're in serious,
like 6, for example,
overseas type of campaigns. There's threats, there's terrorist threats and whatnot. In G.I. Joe, they're like that special ops team that kind of goes in like the SEALs or the Rangers or whatever, and they take out these targets and stuff like that.
So,
That
They
I can see working, but I don't know how they can overcome that stigma.
well,
they
here's
can
so let
no.
me
Let
add
me
to that
let me.
because
Okay,
there's a
okay, go ahead.
good. Yeah, okay, yeah, because I want to hit on it since I bring it up. But I think the biggest one, because you're saying that you haven't seen anything similar to it. Because if you think about it like this, right? So if you think about Marvel Agents of Shield, that's pretty much like the closest outserts that you had that they sort of did that I would say somewhat sort of similar at the best comparison.
Hmm.
But because that's the closest I can actually come up with.
But
Um,
don't forget, we had this show called Six, the Navy SEALs show, that was very adult risen and with all military stuff what the Navy SEAls went through.
Hmm.
So they did a really good job. They were, I have it right here. That lasted from I'm sorry, 17 to 18, 2 seasons it had. The only reason it got canceled is because that wasn't History Channel. Nobody really watched the History Channel like that anymore.
Right.
But
right.
if it was, let's say Netflix, they can raise the bar even higher. I think they can blow it out of the water.
Well, yeah. So yeah, from that standpoint, that was the only one. Because other than that, I think the only one, but it wasn't to that degree, was like Reacher, like close, but even then.
Yeah, I
But
know Eric mentioned Rat Patrol, but honestly, that might have been a bit before my time. So
yeah, I don't know another
that's
one.
that's going back a long way, and I don't recall watching it. But again, I know they've done it with, like I said, police, like I said, SWAT, which is kind of like a closest thing the military you gonna get. And again, they go in and they take out. I think you could. I think you could pull, and even like 24, they had like pieces where military was involved in certain things or whatnot. But I don't know if anyone's like
Blacklist,
really
another
going.
one.
What's that?
Blacklist, that's another good show too. It was on for a
Yeah,
while.
I mean, Blacklist is a nice one, but that was like more of a solo one-to-one agency, but that was also dealing with the connection of family and back history, and then
I
so
agree
I mean,
100%.
it's
I'm just
good.
using
Yeah,
examples.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's good example because
Yeah,
definitely right because there's so much different co-op connections and everything like that you have.
absolutely.
So yeah, definitely it's a good one. Um, but my thing is so just bring it back to what Mr. Bennett was saying about how would it perform on TV? Like, would it be seen as a kids show or would it be seen as an adult film? Personally, it would be seen as an adult film because you got to think about the element that is of this, right? And this is high level stuff, so you're dealing with high action. You want to hit it hard on that notion. And plus two, when you think about what is the main objective of Mr. Cobra, right? His main objective is to take over the world and with an iron
Mhm.
fist and all that added together. So of course, like each season is like another push for some high grade weaponry, nuclear weapons, all that type of stuff. Like you can literally connect it to what we're doing right now in today's time and then bring it back forward. It's
Mhm.
literally going to revolutionize this television alone. So yeah.
Let me piggyback that idea because you stole my idea. I was trying to say something close to that. And knowing Wally, he always think the way I
Hey,
think in some cases. So I had to piggyback on that because I was thinking the same exact thing, but a little much deeper. Because you taking Blacklist and you combine it with 24. If anyone- I haven't get a chance to watch the whole entire Blacklist because Blacklist, I give it Blacklist credit due, it's the storytelling.
yeah,
They don't jam pack everything all in one episode. It's like a puzzle, and each episode is a piece to a particular puzzle. And sometimes you have to go back to understand why this first two piece is recognizing to this other piece. That's how you put it do GI Joe. The problem is the last two movies. You're right, Wally. It's not meant for the big screen. It's meant for the TV because we didn't get understand each character of the either the ally or the foe for who they are, like they did with Snake Eye.
right.
Snake Eye was the build up. The first two was a shit show of a New York City salad that got inspired.
Mhm.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm being. Tell me if
New
I'm
York
wrong because
salad, seriously.
yes, New York City
Give me at
salad.
least at least name it after L.A. I can give you credit then.
New York City have it. You have it on you stank, and that's how JoJo felt like because I was trying to understand each every other character, and I was like, okay. This is really, really pissing me off. They're just trying to jam pack this into a movie. And I was thinking, just like, why can't they make it a TV series? And you took your time and built a pilot whereby you could have multiple seasons. It could have been done right. Because we all watch the cartoon series. Each character, not no simple character to begin with in
Oh
G.I.
no, they're
Joe.
complicated,
There's
very
a lot
complicated.
of
Like,
history with them.
There's a
there are a
history.
lot of characters. What am I? Over 1,000 characters in this whole
If
series?
if I want to say, well, you know me, I'm going to say this right now. I'll say it again.
Oh crap!
Give it to the Japanese. They might do it better. But they don't have to build character. Character creation is key. What they did with G.I. Joe was kind of like we had one of the dumbed down producers who don't know what the hell they're doing. They had a franchise and they shit on it. I know you're not talking about the second movie because I'm itching to do a gut punch on that one right now. Because that thing rubbed me off even worse than the first one. Are you ready to get into the second one? Or let me walk into the second one. How you take a backdoor character, take out the main character.
You know what?
Bullshit.
Let's talk about it, David. Let's because you're already opening the can of
No,
worms. Let's go
because
for it.
I'm
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 curious
trying to
because I have
I'm
my own opinion about it.
I had a curiosity about it because Emma who watched G.I. Joe, so all the cartoon series, Duke and a few other are main characters.
Like Flint.
There you go. I was looking for that exact name, Flint. Flint was another character who just iconic to Duke.
Uh,
Roadblock,
It was Duke Flint. It was Duke Flint and Lady Jade. That was like the top
bingo,
tier.
And
top
And
tier.
General
then
Hawk too.
yeah,
And where do you put Roadblock at?
second tier with those
Second
other
or
guys. Roadblock, who was the guy with the navy, the guy
second or
with the
third
navy
tier?
guy, the guy with the cowboy hat on. Like they had levels,
Well,
but
Wild
but
Bill.
every show was basically Duke Flint and Lady J were your primary.
I know, but
You know,
Roadblock was either second or third tier, right?
yeah.
Whenever you ever see Roadblock replace the God tier characters, whenever you see ever seen that,
No,
okay then. So why did this big bald headed need to be Destro and not Roadblock come in and take the position of the main character?
You know a side theory I have? It's not a theory, but a side theory. There's a reason I say that. I think Rod came in, losing little rock.
The same way he did the movie Doom.
Same way he did with Fast and Furious. He muscled with himself in,
well
and
again, then
got
I would have been Destro then, because Destro is like
This is him.
you look at the pictures. That's the Rock.
because a lot of articles been
Rock,
coming out
you,
lately about him,
Rock,
The
you
Rock.
seen this right now? If you see my face, if there's a
Scarlet,
new,
that's another one. Well, I think it was
if there,
Scarlet Lady. Scarlet was also So
Lady J,
Scarlet Lady J, Duke, and Flint. Those were like the four. You're right, Eric.
Snake Eyes. Don't forget, he was a big
if
one
they
too.
redo G.I. Joe again, you cannot be Roadblock. You better be Destro. Destro fits your character.
Yeah,
Destro fits your persona. You want to jack up people, be Destro and start jack up people left and right with that shiny silver dome head. That'll be best for you. Real talk. Because I don't see how you make Roadblock bigger than Duke. It's kind of like
I think the
I don't.
reason I think again, this is not even a theory. Just say I'm talking out of my ass. Is they thought they can change directions a little bit. I did like the different direction we're going with, but they did it the wrong way. I can see the vision, but they executed completely wrong. It's like fucking having chicken salad made out of chicken shit.
Wait. Wrong way? How is the wrong way you just killed out Duke?
I'm trying to hear David. Oh, come on. I'm
No, no.
trying here to give
Ollie,
him a
Ollie,
better
Ollie,
doubt.
Ollie, tell me if I'm wrong. You got Duke, you got Flint, you got Scarlet, and who else again? I didn't hear you, Mr. Bennett.
Lady J.
Lady J. Four God tier, top of the line character who put because show at the leaders. These are top leaders that run the operation. Flint is the shadow leader. Remember, he worked behind the shadow. Duke put to be the figurehead, but Flint put to be the one behind the back that pulled the string, right? Why would you move the figurehead and you put Roadblock when Roadblock either secondary or third? No, chain of command, make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense. That's the problem. It makes no sense. Flint, sure, okay. I can see if you say Duke got hurt and he's in a hospital and he's unable to combat or do anything. I can buy that. Hey, hang on, David. And then Flint walks in. I see maybe, okay, maybe using Flint, The Rock plays as Flint. I know that he's too big for it size wise, but I can see that instead. But they didn't do that either. The whole storyline, it was like on crack. A crack guy wrote it. Out of Brooklyn.
I'm sorry. If we had
Oh,
if we would ever get a Patreon channel and we would have dissected piece by piece, it would be a massacre. It would be a massacre because there's too many flaws in the first two. It's like you cannot just walk through it easy without taking a pointer. This
Okay, I'm
should
gonna
not
throw a
happen.
monkey wrench here for a second, guys. I'm gonna throw a
Oh,
real monkey wrench.
oh.
What do you guys think about the GI Joe movie from 1985? Was it the cartoon one? Hang on, I'll tell you what year it came out.
um, we're hitting 1980s.
Mm.
That's what I've seen right here as far as reading this.
The
Because
animated version of
yeah,
G.I. Joe.
they're talking about GI Joe, Real American Hero. That's the 1983, 4 seasons of it.
Yes, 1983. What are you guys telling about that movie?
It was alright though.
I barely remember it, but it was
You're old,
closer
that's why.
to it was closer to certainly what we came in with 83, 84 than anything that kind of came after that. So,
It was
you know,
alright. It wasn't a big issue. It's just
and
that
again,
when
Well,
yeah,
no, this wasn't a movie though. This was a TV series. This was on last.
right. But again, the early episodes of GI Joe were essentially movies, but they were broken up into multiple parts. They were like 3, 4, 5 part
thank you, EJ.
series. The one where they had to get that weather weapon, they had to assemble it, the weapon from these 3 areas, and they had to go all to these different places to secure the parts or whatever for it and assemble it together. Then they got it working. Then they had to kind of get it back. I mean that sort of thing. The birth of Serpentor, that was again a multi-part storyline until they got there. So I'm saying they did a lot of those early on, which were essentially movies just broken up into 30-minute episodes for the first few. So those, in my view, kind of count as movies versus the one that like you said came out in '85. I would still put that in the same category because if you just played that whole thing out, it's essentially a movie.
But
Yeah.
either way, with the Paul Bennett calling out, it was broken out into pieces to elaborate the character creation. Because if you want to compare what those movie did back in the '80s to what right now, like I said, there's no comparison because at least they could get away with it because they created a franchise at that time. You taking a franchise a lot of people grew up on and make it live action. Whereas Wally will tell you, I have said this many times, but we should have me and Wally we have these discussions about anime or certain things that should never be live action because this is what EJ said. He said there's always a potential disconnect between the writer, producer, studio exec. Maybe that's number one issue. Number two issue is sticking with the story. Remove all your bullshit walkers. We don't need it. This is why I have an issue with American movie production. They were they were effing up so bad that people who grew up and love certain franchise, they start to hate it even more.
Mm.
Yeah, but you got to think about this too, David. The sad reality is because we're in newer time and people want to try to make it in current time, people tend to throw in that BS in there because we're in the current time. So because of
Thank
that,
you.
have to relate to the BS that's out here.
And I hate to say it, I'm glad you said that. Current time. Current time Airbender. The BS destroyed that particular
Oh
franchise.
God! Don't get me talk. Don't.
Current time Enter to the Voltron bullshit they put on Netflix. That was like a okay, now I don't want to take a shotgun, I want to take a Gatling gun and just turn it to cheese. Like, really? You gonna do that to me on that one?
I mean, think about it. Even X-Men '97, they finally current time finally gave you know who an actual side on the pivot of what they
I'm
are.
I'm glad I didn't see that yet because I've been hearing a lot of rumor about that one, and people were pissed. I was like, really? Like, are you for real, for real? Because every time you want to bring modern bullshit to franchise that don't need that bullshit, it get worse. It
And
really does.
it does, but on my thing is this: it was the only one that I can say that is fair because of the simple fact of you know how yesterday time is, and because everyone was so heightened. So of course it's like, well, we're not gonna tell you what he is, but you know he's pretty co-op because of his livelihood. But
Are
you
you,
know, secret,
here,
secret.
here, here my question: are you trying to make money, or you trying to shoot yourself in the foot? Which one is it?
Well,
Both.
and that's part of the problem right there too, because
No, because if I was to go to school and go into school for being a director or a writer for a movie, if I see a franchise that put it in my hand and they want to throw, I'll ask them two questions. What that bullshit you want me to shove down my throat to put in the what's that I make? What agenda you trying to put? I'm trying to create something that will empty the people's pocket and let them come back plenty more. So we have money that will shit out of your ass and then some. I don't want your workers on bullshit to mess up a masterpiece I'm trying to build. For example, Lord of the Rings didn't have none of that bullshit. It destroyed a lot of
now,
other movies.
yeah, they definitely dragged that up because they should have stick to what time zone they were actually in versus trying to make it present time because that was horrible. That was horrible.
So Lord of the Rings, the first three books, it was a masterpiece. And I'm glad they didn't throw none of that walker dumb bullshit in it. But some dumb people like, why don't you try to slide my size 3XL fit down your throat? How that feels? Like
But see,
seriously.
but you got to
It's
think
like
about it. You got to think about it. You can't be surprised though, right? Because
I'm not I'm
granted,
not I'm not saying I'm
well,
not
yeah,
being surprised. It's
well,
just
yeah,
that
I'm not
I
saying
watched
about you being directly
the
surprised,
amount
but
of shit show movies
mhm.
for the past decade, and I'll be asking myself this question. Have they lost their credibility or they're completely full of shit?
But
I
see,
got so turned off of American movies. I'm so addicted watching what the next masterpiece that'll come out of Japan or China because they're consistent. They tell a story and they keep to the story without adding too much unnecessary fat or mayonnaise or raisin in it, which I don't need. That's the
But
issue.
let me ask you. 'Cause I hear this come up a lot. In terms of when we talk about DEI or diversity in these films, or wokeness and things of that nature, which I hate because woke actually meant something. And since there's three black guys on here, woke is supposed to mean something that's special to us, and we all supposed to understand what that means. And now it's been co-opted to mean something that's totally different. Are we talking about the storylines, or are we talking about casting? What is driving your angst? So, for example, if they casted The Rock as Duke or Flint, would you have a problem with that?
Hell
so
yeah.
Why? But see, I'm gonna push back on that.
No, let me tell you why I
Because
say that.
again, you're talking about, hang on, you're talking about fictional characters. These aren't figures in history, right? You're not gonna say you had
I
this
get it. I get it. I
historical
get it.
character. These are
I get it.
fictional
But
guys. These are
for example,
cartoon characters.
let me get
now
a
wait a
perfect
minute.
example.
But David,
I want to throw a monkey wrench too. Imagine Tom Cruise trying to play the character of Reacher, but in the book, Reacher the tall ass dude, but he's
That's
a
a different. You're
shit.
talking about aptitude there. You're talking about aptitudes. And certainly his size mattered. We're talking about
David,
just
you forgot
the
it.
skin
Tom
color
Cruise.
of the individual. Like I said, if you put Flint or Dutch, if The Rock was cast as that, or whoever you want to, Michael Jai, whoever, but
He
the
has to lose
character didn't
weight.
look like who was historically that person. I'm saying you have a problem with
He
that,
will have
even
to
though we're talking
lose.
about fictional
Give me that.
characters.
I'm being technical. He has to lose a little weight because first and foremost, Duke wasn't jacked. Know what Flint? Flint and Duke look like charismatic dudes who have been there long enough. Rock
here's my
built the total depth. I'm looking at characters. I watched it. I remembered it like it was yesterday. Duke wasn't huge. He was a solid person, but wasn't huge. So was Flint. Dexter was the big dude. His build is similar to the Rock build.
I agree. I agree with. I
And
agree with that.
if you want Rock to
But
play
man,
or
Well,
Flint,
take him out. All right, take him out. All right,
wait, all right.
pick Michael B. Jordan then. Forget The Rock. Michael B. Jordan. If he played Duke or Flint, would you have a problem with that?
ooh, that
You're
that's
thinking about it. So
no,
Well, wait.
no, no.
go
So
ahead,
He had
Wally.
the
Go
build.
ahead.
yeah, let me get it.
I know
Let
he
me
had
get
the
it.
build, but I'm looking on the controversy because that is throw because anyone who watched Duke, Duke wasn't
I'm
Flint.
just, but I
I'm
think we
glad you
take this
I'm glad you
wokeism
put
thing a
that
little
there
too
because
far. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
But
when the
I'm
when the
being
black woman played the Little Mermaid, that's what got me. We're talking
I
about
know,
mermaids here,
I
and
know,
people are
well,
flipping out because they cast the black woman as a mermaid. I mean, who is supposed to have like blue skin, green skin, or whatever. But that being said,
so here's my
Mermaid, I get it, but
right. But hold on, real quick, David.
go ahead.
Let me get in here because here's my thing. Well, to answer your other couple questions, would I have a problem if Dwayne The Rock Johnson would have played a different character? Honestly, no. I wouldn't be mad if he played Flint. And here's the reason why. You can definitely change a skew of characters and how they look because at the end of the damn day, you got to remember current times, right? And let's be honest, the one way you would build one person one way back then would be different the way it is now, especially if you're training a certain different way. And let's be honest, if you're at the highest point, you would want to be at the highest point peak level of being someone in that battle. So I would have no problem if Dwayne would play Flint because he actually fits the right role for him at this point. So I'm okay with that. Now, two, so but my thing is, I never loved the idea that Dwayne Rock Johnson was like, oh, he was the leader, and then he was the guy. He was pretty much quote unquote GI Joe. I didn't really love his pick for that personally, in my opinion. But it is what it is at that point. But everything else, I'm pretty sure everything else they got pretty much across the board good. But he was the only one when he got into the movies that I didn't love his choice. I honestly believe that he should have been Flint, but oh well. I guess you know how it is. His ego, and he got to be the main guy. Or whatever.
absolutely.
And then I get what you say whether he could play Flint, but I'm looking at the character projection of what they look like because, like I said, when I see Flint in military standard, you watch the
Um,
guys in the military, they're not as huge like The Rock is. The Rock is
Granted,
huge.
that's true. I get all that, but I'll say this too, though, right? What do Flint usually does within weaponry?
I get your point.
Thank you. You gotta carry that big load right there, and that takes a big man to hand that.
Flint, no, but Flint is no small dude. I know that.
Yeah.
But as I watch all these charismatic fitness trainers who in the military, who not huge like The Rock, but the stuff they do, Rock cannot even do it in themselves.
Right.
They'll
Hey,
look
that's
at their body like it's nothing.
But I'm
So
still right.
different. That's a different type of build.
But
I,
now, but that's not new though. And we talked about military movies earlier. Have there been ones that kind of dealt with this? There's one more movie that I got to mention that you could arguably put in this category that you could have had a team like this that they could have been a GI Joe team. In fact, in a sense, they were. Predator. So look at Arnold's team. All those guys were jacked. Oh, with the exception of the communications guy, whatever. Yeah, Sonny Landon, Carl Weathers, Arnold, who was jacked out of his mind in that. So again, that was a special ops team, diverse team that went in and did in deep stuff, going up against obviously an alien figure. But that could have been something that you could have possibly based GI Joe on. These are like the elite of the elites. They come in and they do stuff. I mean, you could use that almost as a model for GI Joe, and obviously in the
I get
'80s,
it.
those guys were jacked back then. So it is
I
possible.
get it. I get it because when you talk about character creation, right, and you talk about the military,
And Arnold would have been a great Duke.
shout out to
Arnold
Mandrell.
would have been Duke.
Shout out to Mandrell because when you talk to people like Mandrell and a few other people who have been in the military, you understand something about the type of build they had. And I get it when you're out in the field. Yes, you need to carry heavy machinery, but the type of training they have, it's not always making you so
Yeah,
huge, but it
yeah.
built a level of strength that even the bigger guy cannot compete with. That's
So
why
well, yeah. Jesse Ventura was in the movie. He had a minigun. right? I mean, he had essentially something that's meant for helicopter turret gun. He is carrying in his hand. He had to be a big guy because
They got to do it
who's
himself.
wielding that? You're not gonna have a 5'10", 165-pound guy wielding a minigun.
I get it. I get your point. That's why I say
Okay,
when I look at character, I try to be let me be more precise.
so look, you want to know the exact movie that proves that this can be legit? But as far, well, even though it's a movie, but it's not really a TV show, but it's still proven that it can be legit in modern times. Expendables. That's a proven
Yeah.
fact that this can definitely be a TV show. Still the same. It's literally the equal equivalence because right, multicultural still is all that, but you just bring it back into TV form, and it still gives you that adult feel at the same time. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
overall,
back to my original statement earlier, like I don't think it's gonna work on like regular cable TV. It has to be a streaming service to pick that up because they have the research and they don't have to find guidelines like regular cable TV does. Unfortunately,
I mean, to a degree, yeah. I mean, I always say it all really depends who you put it with and who's the writer. Because
of
even
course.
like, because like I think like this, like for instance, like if I were to say, okay, if we had to put it on cable TV, who would I want to push this towards the most that does good, decent work? I'll put it on Stars. And you can make a TV show out of that because that would really work. The reason why I say that is because look what they did with Spartacus. That was perfect.
One of the
There was
best
no,
series, in my opinion.
exactly. So you can't really screw that up. So the way how they did Spartacus, and you pretty much got in an army, you got in a team with a multi-objective, pretty much do the same thing. You will
Now,
land.
my only thing would be in terms of budget. Now, again, would you put this now Spartacus? I don't know how. I haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, the
How much of
budget
that did they put into like
different.
CGI or whatever to like kind of mimic these
Not that
historic
much.
places or
Not
whatever?
that not that much because you got to think about the weaponry of gladiators and all that is just minimal. So I don't think so. You got to go that far.
Okay,
But
so then
this one,
advance it to a GI Joe. Then you're gonna have
well,
high
yeah, yeah,
tech,
yeah. Well,
weaponry and
yeah.
and whatnot.
But
That's
I'll explain that part too. Here's my contingency on that. Think about what Ghost Sparta said. Arrow. A lot of that stuff that Arrow had, when you think about certain of the characters that were in Arrow, there was some high tech stuff in there. You can get that landed. Stars can do it. I think they can do that. That's nothing. I don't think so.
Bro, I said earlier, a History Channel Day 6, based on Navy SEAL show. They did really well the first 2 seasons. They dropped over some bullshit. I think because a lot of people didn't expect to watch a show like this on History Channel, but that's a different argument. But it is possible what you're saying. Like a live action GI Joe show on a streaming service. I won't put a cable because cable is kind of dead at this point.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
But
it's
I'm just bringing an example, like overall.
like I say, Max. I think Max or Netflix, even Amazon, can probably pull it off very well. Very well. I wouldn't argue that one bit. And like I said, if you tell me in 2 weeks from now, yo, Pete, we have a G.I. Joe show come. They're starting shooting. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, okay, you're pulling my leg. Then I see the trailer. Like, oh, he's not fucking with me. And I'm like, yeah, I will see it. I will agree with it. I think they can do a better job like that. Let me ask you a question now, everybody. So we have American Hero. We have Sigma 6. Which one's everybody's favorite series?
I never saw Sigma Six. So I can't answer that.
I would say G.I. Joe Renegade seemed to be a pretty decent done because I like the
Hmm.
storyline and how they were building upon it. And if you notice, as you watch the series progress, they'll bring in some iconic character into the show as a camel, but it's more like saying they are the OG. They're here to help you along the way, so to speak. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go out and continue the journey, but it was uniquely done to a certain way. It could have gone further, but the writer who created that story, I'm sure they were having a hard problem to figure out how to go about this next day when they're no longer on the road, on the run, so to speak. Like the idea of Renegade, they was on the run. They were being wanted. They looked like they committed a crime and they're trying to clear their name. But once they clear their name, what is next after that? That's what the
Okay.
question. And I can tell, just looking at the storyline, they keep telling me they're running out of ideas. They're running out of ideas. Because once they clear their name, what will be the next stage of Renegade? How far you go with this one? After that one, you don't hear from it again. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. They need a better writing board because G.I. Joe one of the type of franchise, if done properly, you could have multiple seasons and it would have grown to something much bigger than what it is. That's the thing.
Only thing I would say behind that, David, anything over 8 seasons is too much. Cut it at 8 tops.
Really?
Mm,
NCIS, how many
I'm gonna
seasons
be
that one
honest with
is?
you. Yeah, that's plus, and they
No, hold
still
on.
going.
You say anything past 80. NCIS, how many seasons that is?
That's plus. That's around the 20s. Yeah,
Okay
you got
then.
it. But I do believe.
And don't say
I mean,
when it
I
comes to
say like this, it all
Esplanade,
based
it
upon the
don't die that
comics.
easy.
Yeah, but I think it's dependable on the comics because you got to think about there's sides and then there's the main mission. So it's like once you clear those up, yeah.
I'm
But
still gonna go back to what I was saying originally. Is I think 8 seasons tops because CBIS, all these shows are going on like 12, 15, 20 seasons. I think they've gone way too far already. Like a lot of people have lost interest.
I
I'm
mean,
surprised on here.
I'll be honest with you. You
I,
say it
I beg,
lost.
I
Wait,
beg to differ because
well, here wait,
go ahead.
because my thing is now. Granted, do I watch it? No, because it's just it's so much to like literally catch up with. But overall, like for those that do watch it, let's be real. There's always going to be crime on a daily basis. So of course it's going to continue. It's just the stories that they add and mixtured into it, however they want to sell it. But and that lets them allow them to keep going as far as they do. But just looking at it from a standpoint of who owns G.I. Joe, which is pretty much Marvel. I think they own it right now, or they still own it to this day. Is like I always say this: how much deep does the comic book goes, or how much deep does the comic book goes, and then from there you can scale like how far would you take this from a long period of seasons throughout its time? Because one thing's for sure, if you make this into a season, it's going to be like a 1 hour season at best. Like you do 1 hour and then you close off from there, and then you just wait until next week after that overall. But how far seasons go, that is determinable based upon like if you're truly working from the comics and you're building that out. That's how far that would go, in my opinion.
Well, G.I. Joe's owned by Hasbro right now. I think that's why we're getting so many about shit because they know about pushing content out so they can sell toys. That's what they care about. They're a toy company at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, and
that's
I
what
get that.
I'm glad you said that. That's the itch I was trying to point out because a lot of these great franchise got destroyed because of toy sell only issue. They were trying to, how I want to say, shove toy down people's face, but the franchise itself, without the toy, were doing great. We're getting all the viewers, but perfect example, the revamp of Thundercat. I hope you'll talk about that one when we get a chance to.
Oh, it's
Season one
coming
was
up
pretty,
actually.
season one was pretty good, but if they have more work to do, and they just shut down, oh, we are done with it. And why
But
we
I
couldn't
can't, I
find out
can't,
online?
but I can't criticize GI Joe though, because again, they were around for 18 years as a toy line, full stop. There was no story, there was no Duke, there was no Lady J. Again, I go back to those original action figures from back in the day. Marvel created the universe that we know in 1982 when they came out with the first Marvel Comics edition of G.I. Joe when all these guys got fleshed out. So to say that, they didn't need the toys, we wouldn't have any G.I. Joe without the toys. The toys came first. They fleshed out a storyline. And then they, but obviously Hasbro is a toy company. So I can't fault if that was your reason. And Transformers is the same thing. We just so happened to get, and again, they had very similar arcs in terms of, if you look at Transformers, the original series, seasons 1 and 2, and then everything just kind of got, screwed up after that. Same thing happened to G.I. Joe. Because again, it wasn't like bringing Lord of the Rings to life. This wasn't like a story, like iconic story that then people had to, preserve or whatever. I mean, so it was always about the toy sale. So I can only fault Hasbro so much. You obviously want to create, again, that's why they created all those characters, like I said, in the 70s, Bullet Man and the Atomic Man and all those based on $6 million Man, and they just got more creative ways to create action figures that went beyond just military guys in order to keep the sales going. So I can't fault a toy company for wanting to sell more toys.
And let's be honest about one other thing too, right? As far as a business, however you want to look at it, merch is always going to be important. Toys, merch is always going to be important. So you can never knock the game of those things happening because that's just going to be a part of the stick. That's across the board. Like even if you think about it, same thing with Marvel is across the stick. The toys, the video games, the TV shirts of multiple, heroes or villains, however you want to swing it, it's always going to come out. It's always the trump card. It's always those things that just comes out and be on sale and give you money. So it's just by proxy of everything that goes on with it.
Come on, order.
Why don't they just re-release the old vintage figures from the 1980s? I would pay a small fortune for that stuff. I mean, well,
Too late to get up.
I mean, they have the images. They could do it, but I think, well, it all depends.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have the value. Obviously, I don't think they would destroy the value of of the collectibles from the 60s.
Yeah, because for those that
so.
actually have them, you trading.
I don't think it will ever work out personally because people think it's gonna be a shit show. Because people think it's gonna be worth something, it's not gonna be worth anything. That's my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they haven't. I mean, it is their 60th anniversary. So the fact that they haven't,
I can see them coming out something for the 60th, like 100, only 100 or 1,000
limited number.
Limited models. Maybe at like a Comic-Con this year, giving her away at the Hasbro booth or some shit like that. I can see them doing that, or going like a big ass Hasbro booth because Paul, me and you were at Comic-Con last year.
Yeah,
this year technically, not last year, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the Hasbro booth was humongous. So think about how big that would be if they did a special edition G.I. Joe event. I think they would go pretty well.
But I had to give it the benefit pop because you were correct. When they created G.I. Joe, it was a toy franchise before it became
That's right.
animated TV franchise. And I get that, understand it. But what made it more iconic was the storyline they created with it. Because you were correct, based on the timeline that you had broken down, how when it first started until the 80s, they started making the theme song, they started making the toy, the storyline, and how it progressed. It's what that storyline did that boost up their sales. So you got to say,
oh yeah, they worked hand in hand. Obviously they certainly been.
Or with a toy line thing before it became a iconic story thing. If you want to do it all over again, remember when you create a fan base on something that people go heavy on, you can't just throw them away to. Well, we thought they don't really care. It what made it iconic for them.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, Flinch, Lady J.
Yeah,
Scarlet.
but even in like why has Star Wars been able to remain such a line in the story? Because again, every movie came out with a different toy line. Star Wars first, Empire Strikes Back, every movie franchise had new stuff that you didn't see in the other one. So again, George did it right in terms of he didn't now the thing is, especially with the original trilogy, he didn't discard what came before. He kept adding on to, and so you had more options. So again, maybe Hasbro with not only G.I. Joe but also Transformers, you didn't have to kill Optimus Prime. I mean, that to me is just unforgivable. And they figured that out by the end of season 2. I mean, end of season 3. The rest of the series is about, we got to bring Optimus Prime back. We screwed up. You don't mess with somebody. I mean, again, Wally, I was in the theater when I saw it live. Kids were crying. I mean, bawling. I mean, you took our hero. You don't kill. That's like killing Aslan in what was the that series with the lion. What was that? Not Lord of the Rings, but what's the other one? Chronicles of Narnia. You can't kill Aslan. I mean, That's I'm saying the depth of what Optimus Prime was back in the day. He was it in terms of hero, heroism and whatnot, heroic archetype, whatever. You
Right.
can't kill him off. You just can't. Or if you did, you got to bring him back at the end of the movie, not at the end of the series when everything is basically done. Because and they realized that was their last attempt to try to resurrect the series. We gotta create something to bring back Optimus Prime.
So here's
So
my
that was their biggest screw up that they did.
so here's my thing. I hear you, and I would agree, but that's the price of getting emotional feelings for a show like this. And personally, I'm sorry to say it, but yes, they took a very heavy extent of doing that. It may have been the greatest sacrifice they ever made that could have fucked them up, but at the end of the day, the reaction. Look, in life, I'll tell you this: if you can't get a reaction in a moment like that, you don't know what you have. And personally, that, like you said, kids were crying. I'm telling you right now, that makes a big point of reasons why it had to be made. Sacrifice had to be made. And personally, let's be honest. They're transformers, they're robots, they're technology. Technology, we all know it's a miracle thing, right? You can always bring back these characters. It's not like unless you rip them in shreds and body parts and all that.
Yeah, but we developed those emotional attachments, man, to these characters.
But then
We got emotional when R2D2 was
Wally.
blown was blown up in the trench
There you
scene.
go.
They got R2. I was like, oh no, you didn't take R2. And when he came out at the end, when he came marching out at the end, everybody was like, yeah, R2 is back.
But,
So you can't say these robotic things, man. We love our robots.
Bro,
We love our AI,
I'll
man.
give you an
Shout out to
example.
AI.
I'll give you an
that
example.
is a heavy price because even for me, like that for me, I like watching Batman, right? When I saw that the Robin that ends up becoming Red Robin died, I was like, damn. But to see him come back, I was like, oh, thank you. And bro, the greatest thing. But sacrifices had to be made. Sacrifices had to be made.
I'll give you a better example, my man. I'm like, you look
They
like
didn't
you're
stay
around my
sacrificed
age.
for long. That's my
Hang on a
point. They
second,
brought
Paul.
R2
You look-
back. Okay, that's my point.
Well, you look like you're around my age. So even with the Power Rangers, when the Megazord got destroyed the first time, it's coming apart. I go, oh fuck no! Or even better, when Tommy loses his power, the White Ranger like that has to be Tommy. Like I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it.
And again, it also applies to ships.
Had to be made.
It also applies to ships. Look, when Star Trek 3, another emotional Star Trek 3, The Wrath of Khan, when they blew up the Enterprise, there was a hush. Gasp. No. You cannot destroy the Enterprise. But what were they smart to do in the next movie, The Voyage Home?
You know
The
what?
new Enterprise, NCC 1701A, they bring it out. The people went nuts because there's no Star Trek without the Enterprise. I don't want to hear about the Farragut. I don't want to hear about the whatever. I don't want to hear about any other ship. You better have an Enterprise with Star Trek. Again, they knew. So again, I get the sacrifice thing, but there has to be a resurrection. Come on now. I'm Christian.
Yeah, of course.
Without a sacrifice on the cross and no resurrection doesn't mean
On that
anything. So
note-
we got to have that,
You
man.
mentioned that, Mr. Bennett. Let's go right into the G.I. Joe franchise. How you Red Duke since they kill him out for a roadblock?
Man, you really are hanging on about Duke here, man. You have a crush for Duke?
But
do
I
you
don't
have
blame him.
feelings
Now,
for him,
see, look,
David?
now humans, that's a whole different notion. Though. I ain't gonna lie. He got a point there.
Thank you, Wally. That was a perfect heel turn right there.
Because at this point, are we gonna start saying you're cloning?
Mm.
I'm just saying.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. What do you guys think about the Snake Eyes movie?
Well done.
I only saw bits. I didn't get a chance to see the whole thing.
I'm glad
I saw bits and pieces.
got me back to that because so for my question, from your question, like which one was the one that I would consider the best? So I'm between two. I'm like G.I. Joe Retaliation or The Rise of Cobra. Like I'm one of those two.
Really?
Snake Eye Origin was better.
No. Snake Eyes Origin was good, but I usually look at that as a separate solo stuff on his own terms. Like nothing inconsensual. I got to be solo.
So you don't look at that one as canon? You
That
you don't look at that as canon to the series?
it's canon to the series, but the fact that he's solo without the rest of the GI Joe crew is like
Mm.
solo,
But
solo.
the thing is, look at it this way: Snake Eye origin was needed because remember what I said. The first two, we don't know the origin on why they're there.
But think about it, and that's what I'm talking about. Those two alone on a TV series, you can stand them by themselves because they're the only two that
Yeah.
are not cohabited to the main teams. You can literally separate them. They're just special co-op members that are just deadly.
Yeah, their skill sets are such. It's almost you got like a kung fu martial arts
Like
movie
you want
scene
something
like
done, you hire those.
every time, and you wouldn't miss anything. I mean, they themselves could can carry a film just with their fight choreography between those two.
Exactly, and that's why I'm like, bro, those two alone, it's a wrap.
We gotta give credit due. The Snake Eye movie was probably one of the best movies they made as a GI Joe
Hell yes,
franchise.
hell yes, and that goes to show you, like when you have that level of character, it just tells you about the rest stuff. It's like
And the thing when they built Snake
And
Eye, you I can tell you if you go to the movie and you watch everybody watch the thing and they was like, yo, he really went through hell to become what he is because they how they built the character all the way to the end and when he donned the suit, you could. I went out to the I went out to the IMAX theater because you could feel everybody waiting for him to wear that suit. Yes, that's the Snake Eye. He don't say much no more. He done talking. But the thing is, all the other character we went, yeah, it felt like it was giving a spy mayonnaise on a sandwich. That's how it felt to me.
huh?
you had to go there, didn't you? You just had to do
I
that
had to.
example.
I'm
You had
pissed.
to do some weird
I'm
example.
pissed. That's how much hatred I have for the first two movies. It's like I went to the wrong deli and asked for a cold cut salad and they put a spy mayonnaise on it.
That's...
Pun intended.
oh man, oh
I'm
that's
sorry. I will be the tough critic that everybody don't like,
yeah.
and I'll
I
give
mean,
it to
look,
you raw and uncut.
here's my thing, right? Retaliation, it sort of just gives me like a sort of feel to it. Like the only difference is like I just wish they sort of changed certain characters in different positions, as far as I can remember. But as far as just the Rise of Cobra, I just look at it as more of a younger, more sleeker team. So I like that one more for me. But overall, like the Snake Eyes alone, though, just perfection.
Mm.
There you go. And from there, start doing other movie when you target a certain character and that I hate to say, you might have to steal a script from Marvel. Because that's what they did. They built a character out before they brought the Avenger into the mix.
Hey, look, this is my thing. Snake Eyes is always like he's pretty much that character that from a group you can extend out and just be like they're good on their own. For instance, X-Men, you can always slip away Wolverine. And so much more. There's just certain people you can extend out and be like they're good on their own. They don't need nothing.
Yeah. And again, the fact that he doesn't have a speaking role, even going back to the anime series in 83, 84, just looking at him, he just had, it was almost like Darth Vader slash ninja, warrior. You were automatically drawn. And I think those influences, because again, back then also the ninja movie, because again, early to mid 80s, that was when you had Enter the Ninja. And all those ninja movies that came out in the early 80s was out there too. So the fact that you had a ninja style member of G.I. Joe with that crazy front grill and whatnot, so it kind of gave you like just the fact that he was all black. You know what I mean? Just exuded because we saw Darth Vader and because we saw those ninjas. You were just automatically drawn and you want to know more about him simply because he could be cool without uttering a word.
Exactly, and that's just the beauty of that type of art is like you don't have to say nothing. You're blind and you're this good. Teach me. Teach me.
That blind sensei, he was vicious. I'm not gonna lie because watching that movie of Snake Eye and how he makes Snake Eye feel like an idiot over and over, I was like, nah, no offense. I did mixed martial art. I don't like to be embarrassed. That's it messes with your ego and your pride. You got to ask yourself, is it me or this guy playing mind game? I can't even get it, but you can see the level of complexity that's adding to it. Like he will teach you Snake Eye how to be the real Snake Eye. You say all that ruggedness, we're gonna fine tune you so you understand how you're supposed to be. And that was like what it looked like you took a script from Batman Begin. And we was like, we're gonna mold you. You're not Snake Eye yet, but when we're done with you, you'll be the best version of Snake Eye ever.
pretty much.
And actually, I think the guy, well, I would say from the movies, I would say the guy they did cast that Storm Shadow. I thought that was a great casting too. I thought he did a good job.
That was very good. Yeah, there was also Storm Shadow as well, but I think, I mean, Storm Shadow was good, but he wasn't
Yeah.
really important that much.
Let me ask you guys. I don't know, Wally, how familiar you are with the original animated series, but uh, any special characters from the first series that you remember or that you were a fan of? I like the Crimson Guard, those twin brothers who was like if you hit one, the other one felt it and whatnot. I thought that was certainly an interesting addition to the group. I also like I guess the Native American character that they had on there who had the eagle. Yeah. So they had a couple of them on there, but
And those
certainly.
are movies for character
And then you
creation.
also had Zolt. I think it was Zoltan, the guy who could change his image.
Yeah.
He yeah. So he was good too. Those are again, they exist kind of outside of the main stream, but those were memorable characters from the original series that I do remember.
For me, right, in the time that I've watched it, so as far as I can remember, right, the one character, if I were to just say, okay, take Joe out, take Cobra, take the Ninja Brothers out, it would have to be the dude with the iron face. You know, the dude, that particular character.
What, Destro, right?
There are two that have iron face. No, one entire. Detro have an iron face. Cobra Commander had an iron shield that covered his face.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not talking about Cobra Commander because that's pretty much the main
So
guy. I'm talking about
That's so.
the side guy. Yeah.
That's so.
'Cause
But the thing is,
for him, there's a backstory.
Giorgio Renegade showed that he had a natural fate until that fell experiment happened that fell on his face. Some kind of material he was working on and it became solidified, so it moved with his face.
Okay, see, and that's
So
why that history story, yeah, because that's somewhat more interesting, and all that. So it's like there's always a pretty much him, because the female, she's sort of really simple. She's like someone like in the intelligence background, and then comes in. So it's like she's alright, but not important too much. But yeah,
Yeah.
him pretty much.
I would say G.I. Joe is a very complicated franchise to navigate properly if you want to make Q buck because I had to take Wally point. It cannot be a movie. It had to be a TV series
I'm trying to tell
or
you.
or a streaming series that you put because to be honest with you, there are too many characters. And I would say they take the lesson from the Snake Eye movie. You have to build the character so it have its own image to add into that storyline you're trying to build. Because when you just throw stuff in there, it's not making any sense. It's not going to. And everyone, I hate to say it, we all watched it throughout the series back when we were a kid. Everyone is a specialist in their own unique field. Then you got to show us why they are a special in that area. Who made them a special that way? Who were they training under? We saw how Snake Eye became Snake Eye. What the shit he had to go through to become Snake Eye. What he had to prove to gain that honor to be Snake Eye, right? So, since they had a pitch perfect
I can see
pick
that.
for Snake Eye, if you want to resurrect the G.I. Joe franchise, you have to do that for every single character based on
You
the
know,
origin.
character I think needs a really good backstory.
Which character?
You know what I'm gonna say, and if you start going on again, I'm gonna slap you. Is Duke and Flint.
I won't argue with that. I would not argue because
See,
that's
but
I
that's the
never said you're
first
gonna
thing.
argue.
The thing about Duke and Flint is too iconic because Flint know Duke. Flint was the reason why Duke joined the
that's
military.
actually a good point.
I'm glad you said that. That's correct. Remember, Flint was the one that got Duke into the military, right? In a way, based on all these multiple revamp of the storyline. So Flint and Duke movie, it is needed. It's going to be needed, but it had to be flushed out properly. It cannot be rushed. It had to be detailed. It had to be the reason why Flint was trying to get Duke because he see a potential in him, and he trying to have it on his program. Remember I told you, Flint was almost like a shadow guy. He did, but no one knew that he was working in the shadow in a way.
See, and that's why I say TV series because at least there's enough room to build on a lot of things, which is why I won't believe that this is going to be like a small TV series in my part.
No, it cannot be a small because you know why?
Like
You got to
this is
build
going
on
to
you got
definitely
to
be
build on
good.
every single character who will join that team because they are a specialist in their own right in certain areas. The way they did the G.I. Joe cartoon franchise, everyone was a specialist for something.
And
Each
plus,
one
if you're
was
going
a
to
complete
actually make it a TV series, you would actually want to also make it relatable too. So not just
bingo,
relatable in the action, but relatable as people on an everyday
bingo.
field too. So you want to
Well,
put that.
according to our great Google search and web, I take this with a grain of salt right now because the next GI Joe movie is supposed to be GI Joe Ever Villain. So yeah,
Say it
I
again.
don't know because they have Bruce
Nothing
Willis
about
as
that.
what?
I have not heard nothing about that. Sorry,
Yeah, me neither. My buddy CQ will know. He's more. He knows everything in these hush background because he got press pass all his 9 yard. I'm gonna ask him, but the reason I think it's fake because here's why: they have Bruce Willis as one of the main characters, and anybody's been keeping up with Bruce Willis' health has gone down to shits really fucking fast.
Yeah.
And I hope to God he comes out of it. I really do because he's a great actor. And I miss watching him in the movies. But to be honest, with you, I think he's like at this point also old, and he's like just want to retire
Yo,
and enjoy his rest of his life. There's nothing wrong with that.
need somebody else.
Wait, what the world?
No,
What?
this what I'm trying to explain to you guys. There's an issue when it comes to casting. Because you should have an episode where we go shit on every movie that had a wrong casting and why. We need to do that.
Hold up.
Okay, they brought back Dwayne Johnson again. Oh, really? Oh,
I don't know
Agent
how
Coach.
real this is.
Apparently it
I don't
is
know.
because I'm reading it and I read it before. Like I read something else before this. So technically, this movie is supposed to be a crossover between Transformers and this from the GI Joe 3 and the
Oh,
crossover from
God.
the Rise of the Beast.
Oh, God.
Because this is what it says exactly from what I'm looking at. It says, and I quote, the crossover was teased in Transformer: The Rise of the Beast, where Noah meets Agent Burke, a government operative who works for the GI Joes. Okay, you know what?
The reason I thought it was fake at first because Bruce Willis is as one of the characters in there, and Bruce Willis is nowhere near in healthy condition to
Oh
act.
hell no, no.
I'm not
I
sure
mean,
what's going on with his health. I know something major.
well, yeah. I forgot what it was, but he's pretty much like he's in that phase where he's not right in the mind, and he probably has like he has
Dementia.
yeah. So he's not there. But I think the only reason they did this because you got to remember they're saying GI Joe 3, and then they're saying and then the Transformer. So I think they only use that just to understand that this is a crossover, not really actually having him in there, quote unquote. But okay.
Only
I
way
also
I can see Bruce Willis either like a VR version of him. Like you know how they did with Paul Walker when he died.
I guess if you're paying him to do like if you do that and then you pay him, I guess so. But honestly, just no, just
Oh,
no.
I agree with you. Listen. He's old. You know he's going through his health issues. Just let the guy to be left alone. Just let him go.
I have no problem. They put his image in there. They sent him some bucks. Show him some love for putting in himself in the movie and all that. But But honestly, it's like if you're gonna put him in there, it's like no, don't do that. Don't gaslight a bigger issue than this. It's like just move on. Saying like, well, just move on or bring a new guy in, whatever. But just move on. Seriously, no, no, no. Please, no.
It's bad, bad, bad all around. I
Sorry,
really
I'm
don't think
trying
that
to deal with these knucklehead kids here, so I might have to pogo something.
your kid's your problem.
No, if you find them on a milk carton, it's not my fault.
You know you're live, right? You just
I
admit
know,
it.
I know.
It's
I
a
did crack
murder.
joke.
I didn't
I did
hear
crack
nothing.
joke.
I'm
I did
somewhat.
crack joke. Yeah,
I'm definitely
we
like you.
black parent. When we have that moment, we want to threaten them. If you're not careful, you'll find someone on a milk carton. That's what you use to scare the hell out of them. That's the '80s.
I
I've
have
heard it
no
several times
comment.
from my peers.
Well, with that said, what EJN said about IMDb being the go-to source, if that's the case, then yeah, then that might be real. I guaranteedly real.
I'm actually looking through it right now. I haven't got to that point yet, but let's start doing our final thoughts and let's get the heck out of here, guys. I'll let Paul go first because he loves talking.
Well, again, shout out to again the original series 83, 84. Those first two seasons, best in my humble opinion. Also, shout out to Chris Latta, who had certainly one of the more iconic voices or voice actors from the 80s. Not only did he do the famous voice of Cobra Commander, but he was also Starscream from the original Transformers all the way up through the movie. So, certainly sorely missed, missed not having his voice acting skills available, certainly either in the Transformers series or certainly in some of these G.I. Joe series as well. But again, iconic voice, unforgettable. And he certainly, in addition to, Peter Cullen, those other guys who, brought those guys to life. I appreciate, the G.I. Joe franchise growing up. Again, the action figures and whatnot, it made military guys cool. And I think it was certainly a major contribution. But I think some of they had to do some changes again just due to the Vietnam War. They had to become, rather than military, they had to kind of become a different, like I said, anti-terrorist type of outfit. And but I like the fact that they took their time before they released the 1982 comic, which, like I said, that's sort of like the base for everything that most people, especially if you're a millennial or younger, that about GI Joe. But again, they had a long, outstanding history through their toy line that far surpasses that. And again, 60 years, and we're still talking about potential projects going forth and whatnot. For another movie potentially, then that's some staying power. So again, shout out to GI Joe for being able to stay relevant and but not perfectly, but certainly people do want to see the best versions of what this franchise can be, and I don't think we've seen it yet. So yeah, that's all I got on it.
Hey, I would put like this. I'm glad we had the discussion about this franchise because I still believe Snake Eye is the best franchise ever been made so far. But I believe they could redeem themselves starting from that storyline they built on. But the thing is, when creating a movie from a particular franchise from our childhood, you got to be careful how you go about it, how you run it, because I have almost lost completely interest and hope in American movie production, thinking that they could take something from the past and do it proper without messing it up or without destroying it. Because after this conversation we had, you can see why there's so many different ideas that we put out there, and we hope that some of these directors they do see it and understand why we're trying to critique them because we feel like you could do a much better job and produce a better movie that everybody will love and remember or not hate. But like, oh, I waste my money by a ticket for this particular movie. That's the issue. But other than that, I would say overall this has been a great discussion. I'm not gonna lie. This is CBN Tech Talk, aka Black David, aka Bear Paw. I'll be front with you. I'll be real with you. I'm not gonna hold back, and I keep it real 1,000.
He's like, oh man, my final words is real simple. It's like, look, it's like I said, G.I. Joe got to be a TV series, man. It got to be a TV series. As good as it is, it just got to be TV series. You just don't want it movies. I get it. Nice fast action, but it's like sometimes when it comes to TV shows like this, and you understand true history background to this, you got to expand that bad boy to make it really be special. Especially at this age where now you can make an adult format and really hit into the social issues that is really hitting in the world. This can be major. Make it a TV series. I'm telling you, make it a TV series. That's my final words on it overall.
All right, guys. Pretty fast. One quick announcement is now we're officially on Instagram. Also, starting yesterday. I will put the Instagram tag in the chat right now. So anybody wants to go ahead and follow us. I will be going live on that soon too. I'm just have to wait to the 30-day probation and go through the whole 9 yards. We're gonna be streaming at 4 platforms very soon. Okay, second announcement is schedule update. Let's go. Which were we at? So this week coming up, we will be talking about something David's. Man, we got a lot of your favorite topic lately, David. You realize that? So this
What this
Thursday,
time?
this time we're talking about dating online.
Hang on, what are we talking about tomorrow? You ready? Ray?
Oh, hang on, let me check the schedule. I have that on a different pad. We did the open show. Products, U.S. versus Greece. All right. So tomorrow will be products on the gray area versus American versus Greek. Then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about Dave's other favorite subject is dating online. Did I kill the romance? That is the title. Anybody's welcome, of course. And next Saturday, Dave's other favorite subject, and he mentioned it tonight, Thundercats.
Oh Lord. I'm sorry.
I couldn't do it. Look,
Thundercat, there's a mixed reaction, there's a mixed hatred and love thing because there's something was done right, something was done wrong, and something you don't need a pitchfork. You just need to get a couple of javelin and get them from a
man,
distance. Because
here's one big javelin. How the hell do you get the brothers to fight and then you cancel it just disappears off the television? How? How?
Hold your rage for next week. That's what I'm asking. Hold your rage. You're gonna have the floor to
Wale,
yourself.
Wale, bring that rage. I'm gonna bring my rage, and it will be even worse
Oh
because I'm glad we have any type of. You know what? You need to stop stockpiling all the franchise that we can unleash our rage and anger on these shitty ass production companies that shit on us and make things. I'm sorry, I'm still pissed. Like you said, you have Butter to Fight, and you had a great storyline, and you have the Easter egg betrayal, and all of a sudden, no more season. F you. F your
I think it
toy
was
self.
wasn't it a Cartoon Network with thing or was it a something else?
It's too many. It was
man.
on Cartoon Network. They had the most views ever.
All right. Before hold it for next week. All right. So on the 19th, we're going to be talking about unpacking attention. Why a woman chooses to take a partner. And on the
Whoa.
21st, we're going to
Why
be talking
would you
about
what?
why does a woman choose to take a partner. Yes, David, I know you have a lot to say about that. And on the 21st, we're going to be talking about wrestling on the big screen. Hollywood, movies that are based on wrestling movies, obviously. There are not too many of them, but we do have a few that we need to talk about.
You throw in the
So,
mix. And why? How you feel about Monday Night Raw going to Netflix? How do you feel about that part?
how I feel about that? I think it's a great idea, actually.
You were talking about that on a particular date.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'll put it right there now. I don't give a shit anybody says. So, anything else, guys, before we dip out of here?
Yeah, here's one.
Uh,
I don't got no problem going to Netflix, but one very understandable comment that was made by Paul Heyman back then was about bringing extra titles in. He says he didn't like the idea because there's not enough to really support another title within the time range back in the days where wrestling was like 2 hours, I totally fucking agree. Bring it back to 3.
Well, one thing they did say was going to happen after the the Netflix merger thing.
Hmm.
They're going to get rid of brands, so you don't have to stay on SmackDown or Raw anymore. Remember back in the early 2000s, you jump back and forth all the time. There was no like you're a SmackDown guy. You don't remember that?
No. I remember that. Why? Go ahead. Go. I swear. Why do they even bother even doing brands in the first place? Why?
But here's the thing.
First, it was all brands. Now it's brand splits. Now we're going back to all brands. Oh, okay.
So
Well,
here's the problem.
actually,
Here's the problem.
I'm glad you
No.
told me
Here's the
that
thing.
ahead of
You're
time.
making so many different ass belts.
I
The
mean,
two belt will be in conflict. Is the WWE undisputed belt, which this dude Cody Rhodes has, and Gunther, his belt will be over conflict of interest because it's okay that we have the United States belt intercontinental, but now we have the women's version, which is fine. We have two different tag team belts. What are we gonna do? Combine them all over again?
I have a better idea. They kind of did it, flirted with it at a crown jewel. So you have, hear me out before you say anything. All right, you're gonna have the SmackDown champ and the Raw champ. You need brands, obviously, for this. Only one can, those only one at a time can challenge the champion who's allowed to go the world title. But you
Mhm,
have to have one of the other belts. But once you get the
mhm.
world title, you drop it to the next person, and they have like the first, first contenders have to wrestle and get it.
So,
You
wait,
see
wait,
so
my
wait.
theory?
I hear that. So, what was the point of trying to fight the belt out of Roman Reigns' hand and the Uso when they combined both belt and they were both undisputed? What was the point of
They
doing
did
all
it
that?
bad too. They did it a horrible way. Even everybody who has any knowledge of wrestling said it. The Roman Reigns era was good, but was very very bad at the same time because nobody should hold the belt for that long.
Not just him
I
holding the belt.
mean,
His cousin took both tag team belts and it was like, yeah, nigga, we run this.
well, yeah, but even though that's sadly at a different time and at a different grander pace.
I get it. And now I want
But
to go right back
my
into
only
that.
problem is this, right? This is my thing, right? One, when they technically gave Roman all the belts, because let's be honest, that undisputed title is undisputed for a reason, because that's not only just WWE Championship, Universal, that's also World Heavyweight. That's 3 belts.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that they just toss one to whoever on Raw, like, here's a freebie. No. That's not how it was supposed to go down. That's not how it's supposed to go down.
It
That's a
happened the same
bull.
thing with Triple H when they brought the heavyweight title from WCW to WWF or WWE back then. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
remember
but
what it was,
that's slightly different though, because at least
but they hand him the belt pretty much.
I mean, yeah, but here's my thing though, right? At least that belt came from another industry, and then you just slide it over. I'm talking about you had all the belts, and then it's like you stripped one without actually losing the damn belt in the first place. That's how, like, respectfully, like that's how good Roman was, to the fact that you wasn't even willing to let him lose the belt. You just gave someone a belt just because. And that's how, and a lot of people love Seth over Roman, but personally, Seth looks weak just because he just got in the belt versus actually winning off Roman. Let's just be real about that.
Yeah,
So yeah, no. So my thing is, I just didn't love that idea. It just didn't really, because like honestly, for me personally, when Cody won, you only really won the WWE Championship. In my opinion, it's like Roman still has Universal and World Heavyweight.
but
That's
they
how.
never use it. They never use it really. They're
Which
like
one?
they kind of threw him in the garbage in a way. Like this is the new belt now. We don't care about the other two.
I mean, granted, yeah. Here's my thing, right? I get all that. I mean, Grant, let's be real. The title that Cody has is still the newer version of the WWE Championship, and the Universal is pretty much the same image, just with different color context based upon rosters. one, I don't believe they should have really destroyed the Universal, because at least you could have just swung that around three of the franchise anyways, to be honest, in my opinion.
That is my kind of my theory. Like keep the like I am a big fan of the world title. All right, I like the old ghetto. I loved it. It was my favorite belt. Keep that as the high belt and use two championships like Raw champion and SmackDown champion, and only those two can challenge the world title. Not at the same time. It can be
Right.
a
Come on,
three-way.
order.
I'm sorry.
No, he's talking
My,
about something
my
else.
bad, my bad, my bad.
You're good. You're good. So those two. Let's say the SmackDown challenged him during WrestleMania, argument's sakes, right, or during Survivor Series or whatever. They're the only two who are allowed to challenge the champion. They're the challenges. So let's say they do knock him down. Let's say it was Roman. Seth won the world title. Now that title is free for grabs. Now you do a battle royal, or the first two number one containers get it, and then it starts the whole new storylines. That's how you get new storylines and new people coming into the company like that.
I get that. Here's the reason why I don't agree with it. Because
That's
one,
fine.
I see it's just been ingrained that the WWE Championship and then the World Title have always been the marquee titles for if you want to be the big champion in the company. The thing is with the Universal, the reason why I wanted that one to be that co-op title around the board, because at least one, it gives enough breathing room. And two, let's be real, we've seen now in this day and age, you can be on Raw and then you can flex back to NXT and be a co-op between the two. Same thing with SmackDown. And let's be honest, even the women's tag team title is being co-opted around the board. So it's like give the Universal title and let it co-op around the board, because at least if you give it somebody,
what made it real bad is this. Even the women tag team time, it being co-ops, right? We had three different male tag team titles, which is very, very strange if we think about it. You got one for NXT, you got one for Monday Night Raw, and you got one for SmackDown, right?
yeah, but
You
I
had
don't
the
have a
you had the
problem.
World Heavyweight, the World WWE Heavyweight Champion, then you got a World Heavyweight Champion, right? Now you have not only have the Intercontinental Belt, which have been redesigned nicely. You had a new, not really new, but the United States Champion is done properly. Now you got the two female version of those right now.
Mm,
You get what I'm saying?
uh,
And we all knew the Intercontinental Champion was supposed to be like a stepping stone to get the big belt. They want to start that tradition. They were doing a tournament, which is currently fine. Don't get me wrong. But the way I look at it, NXT probably be the stomping ground for not only building wrestlers, but open the door for people to come in from other wrestling industry who
right.
can partake in that. That was NXT stomping ground. But the thing is, the way NXT was being done, I hate to say it, but there was always a better match being created on NXT better than that or either SmackDown or Monday Night Raw.
In most cases.
Not,
Totally.
not in most cases, in a lot of cases.
No,
Because
yeah. In most cases. I mean, if you talk about right
there's a
now,
lot of moment that was done in NXT you couldn't see in WWE on either Raw or SmackDown because for one, at that time we had the person brain who think he understand wrestling but have became outdated because he have not understand the wrestling field have completely changed dramatically. It's more technical, it's more athletic than ever before. So he should have stepped down a long time ago. That's number one. Number
true, but
two, NXT is now doing something that Vince was never going to do. They're networking now. They're letting their talent go to other places to hone their craft. That should have been done a long freaking time ago.
yeah, but here's the problem, David. As much as I would agree with you, let's be honest. When you stand ahead of the board than most everybody else, there's a reason why you don't quote unquote outsource to
I don't
everybody.
think, I don't think about the outsource, but it was done before in the past because if I remember correctly, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, the Dudley Boy, and a few other wrestlers in WWF went to New Japan.
Mhm.
The reason why the Dudley is the most decorated tag team of all time.
Oh
No
yeah,
one can touch them. They were getting belt on multiple big name wrestling promotion. And
right.
here the problem. I don't think people see the big picture. We gotta say WWE is the top of the class. not always have been the top of the class because we always see that certain wrestlers cannot last or compete outside of the WWE. And those who did even better. I hate to say it. Any
No,
other wrestler who came from outside that came in WWE are better built and better made than the wrestler in WWE. Hands down. If I get a perfect example, AJ Styles is by far should be a wrestling coach.
goat. That's my goat.
He should not be made little than John. John Cena could not last outside. Brock Lesnar did outside, and he did well and
Yep.
came back. Kurt Angle did outside and then some and did well and came back.
Yep.
The Dudley Boy did the same exact
Okay.
thing. When they did Samoa Joe dirty, I say Samoa Joe want to be the biggest threat in WWE. I wanted to see Samoa Joe put Roman Reigns on his ass, put his ass to sleep. That's what I really wanted because I hate to say this, Samoa Joe is underrated. His mic game is retarded, and his theme song. We all know whenever Samoa Joe go anywhere and you play his song, the audience change their demeanor to the point whereby it had that level of fear it was brewing out.
Yep. Because I remember
If
even in TNA, they'd be like, when that music comes, like here comes the Samoan machine, the Samoan submission machine. Here comes Joe.
you took that name away from Tad, that was Tad's original name.
Right.
Taz could not do that no more, and he had
Yeah.
to knight him. Say, this is your title from going forward. And what Samoa Joe was doing, I hate to say it, everybody was afraid of him.
I mean, they had to. I mean, he was TNA's top dog for a long time.
He, and the thing is, I feel like they're trying to do it to somebody else, but who is technical like Samoa Joe like that?
Bruh.
So this is why I say that the issue with WWE, I understand what Triple H trying to do, but if you want WWE wrestling to be very better, don't just have going to the TNA only. You got New Japan. Isn't that where the one Shinsuke came from? Io Sky came from, and a few others. The Prince. Hello.
But and then but see, this is where I go back to what I'm saying. Cause like, as much as we can talk about a lot of guys like all the other ones, the AJs, the Dudley Boys, and everybody else that dipped.
You have no. Let me tell you what that iconic is stupid right now. People didn't catch on. You almost had the whole entire original cast of the Bullet Club in WWE. You want to think about that? Pay
I
attention to that.
mean, again, I hear you, but let's be honest. Do you really want do you really want that, like, all those guys coming in that are the original cast coming in being a
You're
cast of
almost
that?
there already. There's only just missing
No,
one or two people.
I understand that. I understand that part.
I'm not
Most
saying
people are there.
I'm not saying it should, but the way it was done, I was thinking like, hold up, you just put almost the whole entire original cast of the Bullet
No,
Club.
yeah, they literally did. They literally are bringing almost the whole entire cast. But my thing is too, though, you also got to think about it. There's a lot of heads of the cast, and then it's like, okay, well then how far do you go if you were to make groups of these casts? Because let's be honest, they were literally making groups of these casts as they was coming in WWE, literally. And the thing was, but that's my whole point. Is like it becomes a conflict of interest because it's like, think about it, Finn Balor, and then you were to bring the Good Brothers, but it's like, well, AJ got it then. But then like, okay, well, wait a minute, if you bring the other guys and then the other guys, and then some of the other guys that they have on their team, they're not even from the Bullet because they're
God,
just extenders.
the Glow of Destiny, they're already under the bloodline already.
Right.
And the
So
big brother, the big tall, no, the big tall one with the younger brother, he haven't popped up yet.
yeah,
Where he gonna go? It's like the way you're going about it when it comes to wrestling, it's kind of like, I'm not saying Triple H is way over his head, but
No, I'll say it because here's my reason why, and because of this is this. At this point, NXT became nothing but a project, a battlefield of a project to now being on the main screen. Personally, NXT is supposed to be that war zone that brings the battle to bring Raw and SmackDown.
mm-hmm.
And at this point, this is why you don't really get what you really get from it at this point. Because at this point, this is the highest of the highest. No other industry has it.
But Wally, what happened was this: Vince McMahon went behind and did a stupid so-called upgrade and trying to water it down because he think he under. This is why I say I don't blame his father for not wanting to have the bit in his son's hand, and that's the truth. That's how I look at it. So now I look at it right now like, you got back your NXT and you try to make it better, more grimier, more ex- explosive. I hate to say it, but you might need better coach who are from the indies who understand how to build a better wrestler.
And I get that part too, but
The,
here,
the, the performance center, I understand why you're doing that. You're not doing this WWE ID thing going on.
yeah,
But in hindsight, you better off. I hate to say this, but I know you agree with me on this one. Join the Forbidden Door
in a sense, but
because
but
I know they do collaborate with TNA, but TNA is not like it used to be anymore because the original guy who was trying to bring it back, they got rid of him.
well, yeah, but my thing is with TNA. Well, here's my thing. See, right here's another part of why I would love to do the NXT being that war brand towards the main roster. Because one, at least it gives you that nice feel of what it was back in the days of WWE versus WCW in a sense. It gives you that nice, good, warm feel. But at the same time, too, the other problem that was also a disturbing deterrence of NXT is you're pretty much taking most of your young new talent and bringing them to the main roster. It's like, okay, what's the point of having this third roster if you're gonna just simply just draft them over to one of the main rosters? That was the problem. I was like, okay, so what's the point of having this on TV? No, screw that. Scrap that. No more drafting. The new acquirees that you bring, that is the show now. That is the heavy hitter.
No,
That is
I
the
think
new.
what they need to bring back is that thing they did before when you had WWE, no, SmackDown versus Raw versus NXT with Brandon the better. I think that one you force wrestler to step up.
True, but that's the same time. That's why I'm like, at that point, you also have to start bottlenecking people to be at that place. Because right now, if you see here and told me today, you only move like a couple of few females to one of the other two rosters, and then whatever females is left, you keep it as such. But that's just the truth. Not the matter. The only thing is now, here's the crux part about it, right? The crux part about it is, okay, well, you got the NXT champion, you got the NXT tag team, and it's like, well, what do we do with these tag team titles now? That's where that issue of you got to start clamping things down, and that's why I'm like
Does
NXT.
have a good
What
point
about
there,
a big?
David. But
Right, they bring.
let's hold off the rest of this conversation on night. We're gonna have a scheduled wrestling event conversation. I know, I
Woo-hoo.
know, I know.
No,
But real
we
quick,
getting
let me
heated
throw this
over
one
here.
thing. Let me throw
Yeah,
this
go
one
ahead.
quick caveat because what Taylor was talking about earlier about TNA. Here's another thing I'll say about TNA. TNA missed their big opportunity because when NWO was quote unquote being back into the fray, TNA should have been the one to bring that back.
Oh yeah, they dropped the ball big time on that one.
Yeah, they should have been the ones to bring that back. Because by the time TNA would have bring back NWA, it would have been perfect because there's already history with TNA having the NWA World Heavyweight title. So now you bring that back into the fray. That's your extended roster. They could have literally they just thought they've overblown that. I don't know what's wrong
Yeah.
with them. They
All
should have.
right, David, you got anything else to say?
I would say the next show we should talk about wrestling. We should talk about different promotion and have
That's
us
coming up.
allowed to criticize between WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Noah, Defy, all the one that we know that's still actually running, as well as MLZ. No,
I'll
no,
put it on the list.
MLW.
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 Do me a favor. Email me that for me. Text me that or email me to me. All right,
I'll
so
do
I
that.
can put it on the list.
I'm gonna on it because we need to have like a 2 or
Yeah,
3 part
I-
episode as we
I'll add
dissect
it to our
each one.
list. Wally, anything else from you, bud?
No, I'm good. Everything I already put it out there. We'll
All
work
right,
on it.
guys.
And make
This
sure you find out
is
TJ's schedule because we need him on his belt.
That's hard with him his work schedule. But I'll reach out to him. But this is HQ. Excuse me. As part of the HQ network, I am Ghost Aspara. He is Black David. This is Wally. As always, stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.